Hi everyone, this is Mr Neel Raithatha, also known as the Wax Whisperer. Thank you for joining me in my latest video. This is of a patient who attended with bilateral fully occluding earwax, and we're just commencing with this, their right ear, and in comparison to their left ear, which you would have seen a clip of at the beginning of the video, the wax is a bit firmer and darker, and in the left ear, the reason why the wax is a lot more wet and runny is that they've been using some drops in there, some softening drops, which would almost turn the wax in a molten consistency. And you can see here, we're just using the Zollner suction probe, and we're just delicately trying to lift this away from the ear canal. It is slightly sticky in consistency, and there is a lot of keratin that's enveloped this plug of wax, which is also adhered to the ear canal wall. So in a moment, I'm going to instill some olive oil spray, and the particular olive oil spray I use is called it's a brand called Clear, and it is available to purchase from our Clearwax website, so please visit www.clearwax.co.uk. I will put the link in the description. And what the olive oil does here, not only does it bind this wax together, so it firms it up even more, which means that when we suction this wax with the olive oil in situ, it comes out in a big plug as opposed to little segments, little pieces. And in addition, it lubricates the inside of the sucker. So as the wax is traveling up, it doesn't get trapped, it doesn't get blocked, it goes through the sucker. So it eliminates any obstructions. And you can see the skin I was referring to, the skin is enveloped the plug of wax, and I'm just slowly but surely teasing this away from the patient's eardrum. They have got quite a narrow ear canal, and that will be more evident in their left ear when you see that procedure. So we're just going to re-enter. They've got quite a bendy ear canal as well. And you can see the eardrum in the distance. Their hearing had been restored. There is some dead skin here, so whilst I'm there, I'm just going to see if I can gently remove this without causing any pain or discomfort to the patient. Skin's not really significant, it's not going to impact their hearing, but if I am able to remove it without causing any trauma or some pain for the patient, we should try and remove it. So I'm just going to wipe the lens. It's just got a bit oily with all the oil in the ear. So there's just some dead skin at the roof of the ear canal. And on the posterior canal wall, you can see some wet wax, which has been stained because of the drops. And see that just peels away. So where we are now, we're on the cartilaginous portion. We can put a bit of pressure on the ear canal. But now we're on the bony part. So the deeper we go into the ear becomes more and more sensitive. See, it's got this little bit of skin left. I am actually going to remove that in a moment. I'm going to re-enter the ear. Here we are. So I'm just using a fine end sucker now. Just going to peel this skin away. A little flap there still, but the majority of the skin's been removed. And we're now going to proceed to their left ear, which was, the patient reported their left ear being the worst ear. And actually, when the patient arrived, I always perform the worst ear first. So I've just swapped it over for the purposes of this video, but I actually performed the procedure in their left ear first. Now, they'd used the hydrogen peroxide based drops, which can turn the wax very mushy. It's like a mashed potato consistency. I'm not the biggest fan, personally, of hydrogen peroxide drops, but hydrogen peroxide drops, the reason why they break up the wax in the way they do is because they are water-based, and a wax plug in its core is formed of a matrix of dead skin and hairs, and that's the framework, if you like, that's the scaffolding, and all the oils and sweat then attach itself to the meshwork, to the matrix, and in order to break down a wax plug, you need the drops to penetrate into the dry matter that forms the scaffolding, as I said, the matrix. And water, having lower surface tension than oils, is able to seep through the gaps in the wax plug and penetrate the dry matter, so the dead skin cells, the hairs that provide the framework for the wax plug, and then it can attack the skin and break down the skin. Whereas olive oil spray and drops, they because of the viscosity of it, it doesn't penetrate into the core of the wax plug, and instead it softens the outer part and it provides lubrication. But the problem with, if you use excessively at least, any water-based drops, you may run the risk of developing swimmer's ear, which is an ear infection caused by water. And water-based drops in the main are alkaline in pH, whereas the ear is slightly acidic. So some people can report slight irritation to using water-based drops. And although the skin is broken up when you use these water-based drops, it does turn the wax quite mushy, which for the purposes of suctioning can be a bit more difficult. I always prefer olive oil because it binds the wax on the surface, and it helps you to break it. So it doesn't break down the wax, but it softens the plug, and it helps us to remove it in larger chunks. So I'm just hovering over, just near the entrance here. So it's just this, because I've used, and again, this is the problem with hydrogen peroxide drops and other water-based drops. Because it attacks the skin, it also attacks not the dead skin that's forming the framework, the matrix of the wax plug, but also the skin that lines the ear canal. The skin can get a bit irritated, and it has slightly here at the entrance. It's just a bit oily there. I'm just going to wipe the lens. I'm just going to navigate back into the ear, trying to get around those hairs. However, if you're performing ear irrigation or syringing, then hydrogen peroxide drops, the way it reacts and works with earwax and dead skin, it may be more beneficial because it's a similar consistency to the water itself, so it's easier to flush out. I don't perform ear syringing. I have been trained, I've got qualifications in it, but it's not something that I practice because I always prefer trying to remove wax without the use of water, because, as I said, water can lead to an ear infection. It's a blind technique, so you're flushing water into the ear, in an attempt to flush out the wax. You can't really see what you're doing at the same time. There's the patient's eardrum, it's nice and healthy. And in addition, you can't perform irrigation or syringing if someone's got a perforated eardrum, or they have a grommet or a pressure tube. I hope you enjoyed that video, guys. Do stay tuned. I've got loads more videos to upload in the next few days. Take care, keep well, speak soon.